now tuned into the greatest.
No idea if they work.
They should connect. Do you have it set up in your settings?
I think so. Yeah. Do I sound okay? I don't know.
Yeah. How do I sound? Hey, Casey, question. Do I am I echoing? Because I'm just
Oh, beautiful. That's good. Cool. Damn. All right. Nice to meet you, man. Hey, look, don't.
Nice to meet you.
We're not going to ambush you or anything. This is not a setup or anything. I genuinely, like, for real, like, I genuinely have no animosity, and I'm sure you feel the same way. And I think social media is a crazy world, but you know, I wanted to extend the invitation because I actually like your point of view. I think you have a wonderful point of view, and I like your videos. And I'm very I would say I admire how many restaurants you've eaten at in the last couple of years, or in your career in general. So I kind of just wanted to throw that invitation out there, man. Get you on the podcast. This is a chef-driven podcast, so we talk about like all the nitty-gritty stuff. You know, things that like you pretty like if we were working together and we were talking on the line. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And the best thing is like I think what's really great is, and especially I kind of say this a lot, but Casey and I are two different ends of the spectrum. All right. And so what's funny, because the reason why we're friends is because, we literally don't see eye to eye on anything, like, ever. and it's funny because like, and I tell people this, like, the first interaction that Casey and I had was, he commented on one of my videos and he was like, hey, he's like, I think this should be on a different plate, or you should do this. And I was like, damn, yeah, that's a good point of view, man. But like, just to give you a little context, he has done corporate chef world. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the opposite end of the spectrum. So I've done like Michelin fine dining. That's it. Like nothing else. Like, you know what I mean? Blood, sweat, and tears. So we have different point of views on managing a kitchen, right? Obviously, he comes from the corporate world. I come from the Michelin background. And so we're excited to have you on the podcast. And, I'm really... if for our listeners and stuff, if you could just give like a 3-minute summary of your experience, what led you up to this point, why did you start creating content?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. So yeah, I'm from Chicago originally, and just always loved food. Like, it was always the idea. And you'll like this because I know you worked at Alinea. The reason I became a chef is, when I was in 8th grade, I had to do like a science fair project for school. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And we got to pick anything we wanted. And Alinea was 1 year old, and they had just gotten the Ruth Reichl thing where they were like the best restaurant in the country. And I forget what magazine it was, but I emailed Grant Achatz out of the blue. And I was just like, hey, could I come in and see your kitchen? And he was like, sure. This was before the cancer. This was before everything. And he gave me a personal tour. It was like him. He brought me over to, like, John Shields was still there. I think Curtis was in the kitchen at the time. Like, Dave Brown was there as like a commis, like Stupak. Everybody was, and I didn't know who these people were at the time, but later I became like a junkie. And he gave me a tour, and I just thought it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Right?
That's dope.
I was like, oh my God, like, everybody's silent and in all white in the silver kitchen, and it was just downhill from that day. Then I went to, I went to business school instead of culinary school because I don't know, and then immediately after graduation, I moved abroad. So, and in business school, when all of my friends were doing like internships for consulting firms or whatever, I was interning in any restaurant that would take me. I think in the 4 years I was in college, I interned at 8 different restaurants, and I did it really purposefully, in that I chose super different restaurants. I was working at like small spots, big spots, 3-star, 1-star, no star, trying to get some idea of, when I left college, what kind of restaurant would I want to work in, right? And so I graduated, and what I realized during that period was, like, I like working in tiny restaurants where the chef is present, that do tasting menu only. So I essentially sent a resume to like every single restaurant in Europe that matched that requirement. And I knew I wanted to go abroad for at least a period of time. And so I ended up at a place called Daniel Berlin Krug, which has since closed, but he's starting his new place. And it was, when I got there, it had nothing going on. And then within the year I was there, it got its first star, it got 50 best, whatever. And then it got its second star right after I left, probably because I left. And I was there about about a year and a half, and then I went to Japan for 3 months and apprenticed at some kaiseki restaurants there, and then came to France. I worked for Alexander Couillon at La Marine, who people kind of only know because he has a chef's table, but it's like a fish-driven 2-star spot. And then I went to Berlin, and I was working at a restaurant in Berlin called Ernst, Ernst, and there I was the sous chef there, and I was there for a couple years. Pretty much I left right at the start of COVID. And Ernst is about as extreme on the opposite end of like American 3 Michelin star restaurants as possible. We were 12-seat omakase bar. We created a menu of like 45 courses every morning with the produce we got that day. It was an unbelievable restaurant. I truly think it's like one of the best restaurants in Europe, if not up there in the world, and deserves to be repped really hard. And then I became a head chef for a while at another restaurant in Berlin, and now I've moved back to the States to begin opening my own restaurant. And this whole TikTok thing was something my girlfriend convinced me to do about 2 months ago, because I'm literally spend every day like in meetings with brokers and lawyers and that kind of stuff. And she was like, "You've got the time. Like, just start putting content out there because it's silly and whatever." Like, I did not get into it to call people out.
No, but but listen, we all listen, you know what? This is a really important topic because see, in all honesty, I think it's totally fine. Like, I think it's totally fine. And the thing is just like I was saying, you know, before, like, you know, I've made some detrimental mistakes. My first viral video, Jake, I'm not going to lie, man, it was such an L, dude. So basically, I'll tell you, just give you a little context. I saw a large creator on here who, he pretends to be a chef, and he's filleting a salmon, right? Completely destroying it. Fucking it up. But he is saying, this is how you fillet salmon. And he's like going down, he's just absolutely destroying the salmon. And it made me so beet red because I was like, no, this is fucking wrong. And I didn't call him out, but I just made a video filleting a salmon perfectly, like top level. And and I said, you know, I'm tired of big time creators who have a huge influence on other people thinking that it's okay to teach bad technique because, you know, it's just wrong. Well, anyway, this video pops off. And then I have I have so many people, like so many haters in the comments. And I realized that was like the biggest mistake I've made because that's not the kind of attention that I wanted. Right. But anyway, I went from, 40,000 followers to like 212,000 overnight. Right. And but it taught me a good lesson. And so I think with the power of social media, I think you'll realize, like with TikTok and Instagram, like you'll be able to leverage your restaurant, right? Like you'll be able to, cut deals with your social media following. But anyway, I do want to give some good news though, Casey. You know this, but I'm glad you said you were opening a restaurant because my guy, I'm doing the same thing, and I am so excited.
Everybody's opening a restaurant right now.
Bro, listen, but let's get into it because I think this is really important. I just put in my notice at my job yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie, my job is very
congratulations.
Good. Yeah, I'm fucking ready, bro. I'm ready. And the thing is I have a very lucrative position here in Silicon Valley. I work for a huge tech company. I'm the executive chef, and I get paid a lot, but I had the opportunity to go to Montana and cook for a venture capitalist group and completely blew them away, man. I made everything. I made sourdough from scratch.
Were you cooking on Skeen's farm? Are you allowed to say that?
No, he's actually in Wyoming, but I'm not going to lie. There was some, listen, I love Joshua Skeens, but I don't know if I would ever work for him again without having a piece of the pie. You know what I'm saying? And he's a great chef. Look, I got to be honest, man. Chefsky. So I joined Saison to work on their 2 new angler projects back in 2018. That was probably my favorite experience to date. But the only thing I will say is that you just have to, like, when you're not in charge of the money, the rules are different. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what type of, like he has nothing to do with Saison or angler anymore at all. He's working on this Skeens Ranch, and I'm sure he has some investors to work on it, but needless to say, I think he's one of the best chefs in the United States, but honestly, he's tough to work for. He is fucking tough to work for.
I've heard the stories. Yeah.
Yeah. He dude, I've seen him go to, but like, I'm not fazed by it. Like, the thing is I know how to manage, like, I don't know. I've worked for some crazy chefs, man, but The thing is I'm not gonna lie. When I was cooking for Joshua Skeens, bro, this was like, you talk about shit in your pants. I swear to God, bro. Every day it was just like, oh my God, like it was very difficult because he has the palate of a genius. Like it's absolutely crazy. Like his palate. I swear to God, I forgot what I was making. I don't recall, but he's like, hey, he's like, the garlic is sour in this dish. He's like, the garlic is over fermented. It's too sour. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It was like a lobster sauce or something. I'm like, and then I go upstairs and I'm checking the Comey's mise en place and I'm like, I'm like, fuck. And then I see like the garlic is old. He's like, and I couldn't believe he picked it up. I couldn't believe it. And it was crazy. But anyway, I am, so basically, and I'll break the news here. I am working with an investor that we're going to open a restaurant in Montana. I already have the building. It's a great partnership. I'm looking so forward to it. First quarter next year. The main goal is, obviously, I'm a big fan of wood fire. Everything over the wood fire, like not like every single thing is going to be touched in the fire, but that's going to be the goal. And I'm super excited to start that process because I've been down some shaky roads with investors, and I think what's really important is making sure the deal is good. Like I can't stress enough, man. There's so many chefs that have to shut their restaurants because, ultimately the person that's putting up the money has the final say. And I think it's really important to, make sure that deal is ironed out really good,
Is this place going to be like well, I want to come back and we'll talk about like the investors and lawyers things, but is this place going to be like destination, like Blackberry Farm style, or what's
no, I think the start, honestly, and that's a great question because it's such a small town. So it's going to be in Hamilton, Montana. And there's, the population obviously has doubled and tripled in size since COVID. And I mean, it's funny because like all of my experiences in, DC, Miami, New York, Washington, Chicago, LA, San Francisco. So a couple of years ago, if I would have said I was moving to Montana, people would think I was crazy, but now it's different. And this restaurant, I think the way we're going to position it is we're going to go local first, right? I'm really going to do my best to try to source. I want to reinvent like American cuisine, but do it with wild foraged items. I want to get into game meats. I want to really focus on hunting, procuring. I had the opportunity to shoot and break down my own wild boar, and it changed my life. It literally changed my life. Like I literally shot this thing, killed it, skinned it, field dressed it, and then ultimately my chef drive just completely took a different turn. Like absolutely amazing. So anyway, so I dry aged some. I made charcuterie. I did this, but like, let me tell you something. When you're tasting something that you actually hunted and killed, it's a different thing, man. It's just different. Like as chefs, we're so used to getting like pork chops in the grocery store or like commercial. And I remember touching this pig and it was lukewarm. You know what I mean? And it's like, fuck, this is weird. I'm used to touching meat when it's fucking ice cold. But so when I get to Montana, I want to forage for, wild strawberries, wild berries. There's so much things that are undiscovered. That's going to be the top goal. But I think what the idea is a restaurant group. So we're going to start with the first concept, which is going to be called Ember. And the investors picked out this name, but the first concept is going to be Ember, so wood fired, and we're going to build the formula first, right? So it's going to be steak and meat heavy, obviously, because Montana. I'm going to have some potatoes on the menu and shit, but it's going to be very 1000% chef driven. And then from there, what we're going to do is we are going to branch out and start just, hit the ground running. So I really want a pasta concept. I want a butcher shop. I want, a pizza. I'm not even gonna lie, like a wood fired pizza concept. I want to do. We're gonna start with the base formula, and then we're gonna move on from there. Even talked about. They have a plot of land that we're probably gonna do not a bed and breakfast, but like an event place, right? Like an event place where we can have weddings during the summer and things along that line. So it's gonna be wonderful, man. I really have high hopes for this, but I think getting the locals on board is gonna be my top priority for the first the first couple months. And then obviously it's going to have to be a destination restaurant or else you're going to fail.
Yeah. It's funny. Like the restaurant I worked at in Berlin, obviously Berlin is a really big city, but we were this tiny little tasting menu restaurant in this corner called Wedding. And it's like, it's a garbage neighborhood. There's no other way to put it. Like it's the lowest income. It is the most dangerous. It is. And the reason it's one of the only neighborhoods in Berlin that has never gentrified. And we were like, my boss was kind of the first one in doing that. Like, not in the best way, but we always thought that we were going to be just visitors from out of town, people from the other side of the city, whatever. And we were shocked at how many people were like, because we talked to every guest and they'd be like, oh yeah, like we live around the corner and we've always wanted something like this around here for our birthdays and anniversaries. Like, when you get the local community on your side and out of nowhere, it's amazing. And we became this like little corner institution. We became the first Michelin star restaurant ever in this neighborhood. And it was not, and it got that attention because the locals were giving it to us.
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest. Like I was a little scared because I've never been to Montana. And then the first time I went there, I was like, fuck, I'm going to hate it. It's going to be like, as soon as I get there, it's going to be like white power, like I'm sorry. That's my perception. But let me tell you how fucking beautiful it is, man. It is absolutely gorgeous. And the thing is, it's like, when I was doing shopping at a local store. It was in Missoula and it was called The Good Store. And it's basically like a Whole Foods, but a smaller version. Dude, when I tell you Montana mills its own flour, they have their own cherries, they have their own berries, they keep their local shit to themselves. And I was blown away by some of these grains that I tasted. Some of these, they have local farmer markets, but they keep it all to themselves. They are very proud about Montana things. And so my whole goal is, as a chef, is to come there, respect the area, respect the locals, respect the people that forage, and really drive home that it is like Montana born, right? And then the thing is also, like I was telling the investor, so my nationality is half black, half white, but I am 1000% American, 100% American. And for me, I've worked with so many chefs that are like, French or, like XYZ. And the thing is actually working for Joshua Skeens. I mean, my man is from Florida. Okay. He is from Florida and he's an American chef. And it's funny because he kind of gave me that perception, like, no, I'm proud to be American. Like, I'm proud to be American. And I'm like, damn, yeah, so am I, man. And he's like, yeah, I can't tell you. So when I was working there, actually, Laurent Gras came and was taking over Saison at the time. It was a dream come true, man. I'll tell you what, you talk about pressure. I was breaking down a hamachi, and it was so funny because I have Skeens on one side and then Laurent Gras, the king of seafood, on the other side. And he's like, and I remember he's like, why do you use a slicer? Why don't you use a deba? And I'm like, chef, the slicer is just comfortable for me. He's like, use a deba. And I'm like, okay, yes, chef. And I'm like, here, I switched to a deba, and I'm like, yeah, no problem, chef. And it was funny because it was like, I was literally like shaking in my boots. And usually I'm not like shaking, but man, when you have Laurent, I staged at L2O when he was the chef. And
it was the first fine dining meal I ever had.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't believe he remembered me, man. I could not fucking believe it. Yes. Because the only reason he remembered me is because, so I staged at L2O. It was my first stage in Chicago. And it was crazy because I was with the Garmager guy and I was doing his prep. And the problem was I was already at a higher level cook position at this time. And he was fucking up, dude. And it wasn't hard. We're talking about a crab salad with avocado and a gold leaf. Dude, it wasn't hard. It was just like, you could preset it. And Matt Kirkley was the chef de cuisine. Matt Kirkley was chef de cuisine. And it was funny because Matt was like, what the fuck is the problem? He's like, why can't you do the salad? He's like, it's easy. And then so he runs there. What happened was, I think it was so long ago, but one crab salad came back, had a shell in there or something. So he didn't pick through it. So he had me start picking through it. And then he just shut down. You know how some people under pressure, that's it. They just fucking crumble. And so I'm like, hey man, and he's like, I gotta go get some more crab. And I'm like, all right, man, hey, no problem. And then I just started plating up the salads. And then I remember Matt Kirkley coming over and he's like, did you make this? And I'm like, yeah, chef. And he's like, no crab shells. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely not. No crab shells. And it's because he was going through a third pan of crab meat. No, bitch, you got to get a deli cup of crab meat. You sort through the portion first, you confirm, you double check, then you go to another deli cup. You know what I mean? Like, and it was funny because Laurent Gras was coming through in his little motherfucking ninja outfit. It was crazy, like black. Like I swear to God, it was like a ninja, like it was a ninja outfit. I can't even explain it.
It was a ninja outfit.
But I remember him coming through and like checking a whole bunch of stuff. And then the funny thing is the reason why I had a connection was because of Thomas Raquel. He was on pastry. And Thomas Raquel, he's the executive pastry chef of Le Bernardin.
He just left.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he left like a month ago off real mysterious circumstances. So if you're still friends, you should reach out because I have a friend who's very close with him and has not been able to get in touch with him for 2 months.
Fuck. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out. Well, I'm sure he's probably like all other chefs who have built their name and then don't have a piece of the business. Like it's the bottom line. It's what the fuck's happening? Like we're all getting smarter now. Like, dude, I can't tell you. I wasted, my 22 to fucking 28 just working out a vision for other chefs, and it's like not anymore, man. Like I want a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, but
now,
yeah,
Jake,
Thomas, right?
quick
I'll text
question.
him.
I know you're starting a whole thing. Are you able to speak on that a little bit, or is that too early of a question?
Yeah, no, I can like the concept. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. It's the opposite of a lot of American fine dining right now. And what I mean by, so it's going to be a counter restaurant. It's going to be, right now it's probably going to be 20 seats, and we'll do 30 guests a night, 4 nights a week. I mean, we're talking tiny operation. So the concept, 20 small restaurant, and the whole thing is it's all about seasonality. I think seasonality is everything for what we do, and it's my big problem with most of American restaurants. Like when you're feeding 150 people a night, you can't actually work with local farmers really. And if you're creating dishes that are going to be on the menu for 2 months, you have to think about like things that are going to be around for 2 months.
Yeah, correct.
And so the whole way this restaurant's going to work is I'm setting up a network of small farms, and not all of them are local. I think that's actually less important. Most of them are local, quite a few of them. But like I'm going to California next week to meet some farmers, because for me I'm more interested in people who are like really small producers who really care about what they're doing and about forming a relationship with them than I am actually about locality. And I think the reason people love local is because it's easier to form that relationship. And then I'm just going to get anything I can every day, ideally as fresh as possible. And we're going to create a menu of 25 to 35 courses on a daily basis. We're going to sit down at 11 in the morning as a kitchen team, and everybody's going to be encouraged to pitch ideas. And it's going to be very simple, clean food. I keep saying it's not going to be Japanese food, but it's going to be Japanese mentality inspired.
Sure.
And then, we're going to create like a 25 to 35 course tasting menu. And like during the summer when it's all produce driven, then we might have 35 courses and 33 of them are going to be produce. And in the winter, when it's much harder here in the Midwest, then we might have 20 to 25 courses, and 10 of them might be proteins, in-house aged stuff. And then we'll have our producer. That's kind of the basis of it. And it's all about, it's funny because it's the opposite of also what you were saying in your video about chefs being behind the line or not behind the line. I mean, for this concept to work, I'm going to be behind the line every day.
It's funny because I was having that same conversation with Jacob Bickelhap. He was 42 grams, and anyway, I reached out to him because he was getting some hate. Like he was getting hated on. He did a restaurant in West Palm Beach, so I was in Chicago at that time when that whole shit went down. But to make a long story short, I was talking to him, and we talked about that same thing. And it's funny because I think there's so many different gray areas, but what I wanted to say is I wanted to go back to California because I've been in California for fucking 9 years, bro. So I've worked in Los Angeles. I know every single farmer there is. I've got the connections everywhere. So if you need anything, especially here in San Francisco, just let me know because I got connections with everybody. But if you're gonna go stone fruit, bro, Andy's Orchard here, Andy's Orchard in Morgan Hill is the best, dude. There's no fucking doubt in my mind.
Have you ever worked with Penryn?
Yeah,
I know this is like
Penryn's
real in
good,
the weeds. I'm trying to visit him, and he's so frustrating.
Yeah, I bet. So listen. So actually, I have a direct contact with Penryn, but I don't think he has the best stone fruit though. Really? He has the best cooking peaches, like the peaches for like jarred peaches, but he doesn't have the best. I'm telling you right now, Andy's Orchard here at Morgan Hill. They're the best. They're stone fruit. They only pick them tree ripe. They wait until it's time to harvest. They don't harvest unless it's ready to pick from the tree. Then they box it up and they ship it. I'll do a video. I'm about to pick up some stone fruit here pretty soon, but they do the absolute best. There's also another farm. It's called Blossom Bluff here, Northern California. I would say between them and Frog Hollow Farms, they're the two that you want to go with. I would not waste any time with Penryn.
All right, that's good to know.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I'm also
love,
looking at going up. I'm gonna visit Monterey Abalone. I'm gonna visit Mount Lassen Trout. Like, I'm also kind of like, if I'm gonna be there, because I don't get good seafood here. You know, like, there's no local good seafood. And I want to use seafood. I love that. So I'm gonna be meeting with a lot of seafood people as well.
So my recommendation for seafood would be Los Angeles, not San Francisco. And the only reason I say that is because I've just had such a big problem with inconsistency here in San Francisco, and it's just gotten worse because of COVID. I would recommend Lux Seafood in Los Angeles. They do the absolute fucking best, but the problem is they don't ship to Chicago. They don't ship anywhere else. I've begged them, bro, on my knees, like, please, motherfucker, please send me this.
Just ship.
The thing
they
is,
won't let you.
And then there's also one guy I should connect you with. He has a fish shop in Studio City or Sherman Oaks. He's called the Dry Aged Fish Guy, and
I've heard of him.
Yep, yeah. I forgot his name. I'm drawing a blank, but he's the best, man. Like, he does a really good job at what he does. He's perfected it. His fish quality is amazing, but it's expensive. It's very expensive. But I should connect you so that way you could get with his vendors, because he has. I have a few vendors that I work with. I don't know if you know, Regales Seafood does a really good job. There's also one other guy. It starts with a U, but I'll have to send you the information.
Yusiaku.
Yukasaku. Yeah, Yusiaku. Yeah. Really good guy, but
I don't want to get Japanese fish.
I know. That's exactly what I was going to say. So, Monterey Abalone is good. I would also recommend Monterey Seaweed. Which is really good. The farm seaweed. Yeah. So see, I'm on a different end. Like, now I've been in California so long, like in San Francisco, like whether you go to Dominique Crenn or you go to Benu or you go to, Single Thread, we all do the same things. And it's like, I'm kind of tired of using like all the same ingredients. And it's like, I need something new and exciting. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, if I go to Ferry Building, like right now, I know exactly which farmers I'm going to hit. I know exactly what produce I'm going to get. I know I'm going to go for the asparagus, the jumbo asparagus, you got to call in ahead of time. And like, it was great, but it's like, we all use the same things nowadays. And I think like now I just want to explore something new. Like I really do. I was going to mention one more thing. C&H Orchards for their stone fruit as well is really good. I think that's her name. I'm not sure. But Frog Hollow, Blossom Bluff, but Andy's Orchard is top notch. Yeah, got to check them out. So, are you going to open this restaurant in Chicago, Shottown? Or?
Yeah, Chicago. Yeah. I was between Chicago and LA because one of the beautiful things about LA is, like, in the winter I would have produce.
You would have produce, 100%. East Coast is tough.
My big thing is I hate driving. I hate and the idea of being in LA is like a nightmare for me. So
I agree with that. And then plus, like, I mean, what part of Chicago are you thinking?
I'm looking all over. I told my broker, I was like, just not West Loop. Because if you're in Chicago, if you know Chicago at all, like, it's the West Loop is where, like, Ackett's has all of his other restaurants. And it's where my first ever job was. I worked for Homaro Cantu, and like his spots were over there. And now it's just, there's a Google headquarters. There's like, it's just so overdone, and also the rents are now too high because of that. It's where Girl and the Goat, like Stephanie Izard's got her spots over there. So I kind of gave him pretty loose instructions. I'd like to have somewhere with a bit of an outdoor space. I'm a really big fan of taking guests outside in the middle of a meal, especially if it's a 3-hour meal. And I think if you can give them like a little sipper or a little bite when they're outside, rain or shine, like give them raincoats, I'm kind of pretty open on the section of the city. It's more my big thing is I want the outside of the space to be kind of classic Chicago architecture, which is a very broad statement. I mean, it can mean a lot of things, but I love this city. And one of the reasons I came back, I could have opened a restaurant in Berlin. Like, I was ready to do that. I was there 4 years. Like, I knew the community, I knew investors. Yeah. And I came back because I feel like I have some responsibility to give back to the city that I love. And so part of that means, like, I want it to be a bit of a love letter to Chicago. I also want to work with, like, talking about working with local farms. There's a lot of movements in Chicago that are using empty lots in like Englewood and the South Side and West Side and turning them into city farms and hiring at-risk youth, like gang at-risk youth,
Mhm.
to work those farms. I'd like to work with them heavily and support that. I'd like to hire people who might need a job to get like I'm going to be tiny, right? I'm going to have seven,
Yeah.
8 employees. This can be a really small place. But if I can give back in my little corner and support a ton of local farms while I'm doing it, then like
Yeah.
that's yeah, I'm not immediately driven by the profit. Like I'm not dumb. Like this is a business and I'm going to have investors who are going to put a lot of money into this and I need to get them their money back. That is a
Yeah.
big part of it. But the first 5 years, if I'm head down on the line and am in the swamp of it every day, that's my dream. And then look, in 5 years, we can talk about if I have a sous chef or a CDC who's with me a long period of time and gets the food we're doing and the style and the daily creation of it. Because like when I worked at Ernst in Berlin, we did this daily creation. In my 2 years there, we once did the math. We created 10,000 dishes. Like it was like
Wow.
9,600. It's
Yeah.
all about pushing. And
Yeah.
so if I get somebody in place there who can be there for me, then great. Then let's open the breakfast lunch spot that is using local produce but larger quantities, so I can go from buying 30 pounds of lettuce to 400, really supporting these guys and girls. And like
Sure.
that's the dream, but I'm really focused right now on the immediacy of like making this. I keep saying I want it to be the best restaurant in Chicago, and I want it to be really different from everything else that's in town because Chicago, I like I said, I fell in love with food because of Alinea. I love and
Mhm.
those spots. That's not the food I want to cook. And this city,
Yeah.
85% of the fine dining here is alumni of that who do that, like Esme and Ever and all these guys. So
Yeah.
it's like, how can I
I know.
bring local to the city?
Yeah, it's funny because so the chef de cuisine at Ever is Justin Selk, and we worked at Alinea together. But he worked at Grace when Curtis Duffy was at Grace. But like that shit show, man, what happened there? Like, dude.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you because you said
Yeah.
you have one big investor, right?
Yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
worry about like a Grace situation? Is that like contractually being dealt with, or
Not, yeah. We're all good, man. I am so happy. Listen, I had a chance to open a restaurant in Los Angeles, and thank the fucking Lord, I have an entertainment lawyer who looks out for me because like we just ended up being friends. I cooked for this entertainment lawyer. He's a lawyer of Rob Dyrdek and Fantasy Factory. And basically, I cooked for him in Las Vegas. And basically, he's like, "Yo, anytime you come to LA, we should hang out." Anyway, we hung out. Long story short, I was cooking at Hotel Bel Air. I was a chef de cuisine over there, and I was cooking for this big party. And I made them a tasting menu. And they were like, "Hey, if you ever want to open a restaurant, let us know. We'll definitely get you a spot. You deserve it. You have so much talent. Blah blah blah. The whole spiel." Anyway, I took him up on the offer. He sends over a contract, and it's funny because like I had my lawyer friend look at it. He's like, "Bro," he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this, man?" He's like, "You are pretty much right now just an employee of him with no equity, no nothing, no partnership. There's nothing. You're employee number 3." And he's like, "I wouldn't recommend this." And the reason is he can come in and pull the plug anytime he wants. He has full control. And from that moment on, I've been very cautious with how I deal with different, investors, because it's the same thing here in Tech City. Like straight up, like I'm in Silicon Valley. Like there's so many people with money. I've cooked for some of the top leaders of the world, and I've been offered a restaurant. But the thing is their intentions are ill will. They're not. They don't give a fuck. They're in tech.
Mhm.
And that's the problem with the Anglo restaurants. The two big investors are tech investors. They're the one big investor is a tech investor. So he doesn't see the blood, sweat, and tears on restaurant operation. It's a long, slow burn. It's not like.
And I'll tell you, like I'm going to probably have 10 investors, and they're all going to be small bites. And it's like, because I want 51% control of the company and 51% ownership. And I don't want people coming, like I had an offer to fund the whole restaurant by somebody.
Mhm.
And I said, no, I was like, I want the ability. I don't want somebody who can come in and say like, it's the L2O thing. I mean, I don't know if Laurent Gras ever told you the story why he was fired from L2O. I'll tell you what I heard through the grapevine, which is that he had a shabu shabu on the menu. And one day the owner of L2O, Melman, came in and ate the shabu shabu and was like, I think the shabu shabu would be better if you did the broth like this,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
Laurent
yeah,
Gras was, and this was like 3 days after he got 3 Michelin stars, and Laurent Gras was so
yeah,
pissed. He
yeah.
was like,
I,
"I'm out of here."
he,
So
he,
it's like
he,
I don't need that.
yeah, I totally get what you're saying. So the way I have it set up now is there's multiple paths to ownership, which is amazing, and also it's 50% equity in this company. And any new business is immediate vesting, right? And that's what I really love because I truly believe in a little sweat equity. You have to show these people that you can work and you can operate a business, but I'm super excited because they're genuinely good people, not like here in Silicon Valley where they're just cutthroat. They have all the money. They're like I never knew what rich was until I worked here in
Never
Silicon
knew
Valley.
what rich was.
Dude, I knew what millionaires were, and people that have a couple billion, but man, we're talking about multi-billionaires here, like
Yeah.
money that just. I mean, bro,
Yeah,
over here in
we're
Los
giving you $1 million for a restaurant is like
it ain't
nothing.
shit. It ain't
nothing
shit.
here.
It ain't nothing. But the thing is like, the only thing they focus on is a return, which is kind of like ill-willed. But when do you plan on opening, or have you found a space yet, or no?
So I'm looking for a space. I'm leaving for the next like month and a half to go on this big road trip meeting farmers, and then when I get back, it's kind of when we're like bunkering down. So I'm hoping to find a space by September. In which
Yeah.
case, we're shooting for like,
Hey. Wow, that's soon.
I have such a hard time giving a date though, because like I want to be like, if
Yeah.
we find a space in September, we'll be open by May. But realistically, with supply chain issues right now, who knows when I'll get everything? So
Yeah,
it could
exactly.
be next fall if it's just delayed stoves,
Yeah. Who are you
So,
going to
but
use for
I'm
stove?
shooting for that.
I just had a custom range built by Heston. Fucking beautiful.
Well, I'm not going
But
to do any gas. I'm
okay.
going to
Oh,
strictly
induction?
I'm just doing induction. I'm going to have a hearth. I'm going to do a lot
Yeah.
of open fire stuff. And then like a
Where?
hearth flat
So
top. And then I want to have a really beautiful, like, oh my God, I'm totally blanking on the name. The ovens that
Mabrasa?
are also steamers. What is it?
Oh, combi oven.
Yeah,
Rationale.
yeah. Thank you. My God, rationale. My brain is off.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I'm getting a double stack. I'm getting the
Okay.
double stack one. That one's it. I wouldn't open a restaurant without a rationale, man. Straight up. But for the open fire, what do you are you just going to have somebody build it, or are you getting a custom one? Like
I'm
from
probably just gonna have somebody build. I don't need like a shit like I don't really want to crank up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more interested in having. What I will do is I'm gonna hire a local metal worker and just have them
Yeah.
build me. It's hard to describe without like a picture, but essentially it's gonna be
Yeah.
a bar system where you can take the bars in and out, and then you can set up
Yeah.
racks or hang things from the bar. I don't need to go the whole up and down because
Yeah,
again,
I
we're serving 30 guests a night. Like this is gonna be a really small operation.
I know it's crazy because I was going with the Grillworks grill first, but now
Yeah.
I've changed my expensive as fuck, dude. We're talking about
I was quoted 6 figures. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, 100K. And I was just like, damn, I was like, it's just not worth it. So what's really important to me is I need everything to be all inclusive. I don't want it to be fixed in the actual restaurant because I've dealt with so many issues with building the Angler restaurants. It was built in the kitchen, but once a brick breaks or cracks, replacing that brick is it's not as easy as you think. And then the whole structure is compromised. So for me, the Mabrasa, you can get it built on, legs. It's a hearth in itself I'll have to send it to you, but it's really, really nice. The only thing is like, it's not like, it's not like I don't know how to say it doesn't look glorious like the Grillworks grill. The Grillworks grill looks fucking glorious, man. But it's like, I'd much rather put that money somewhere else. But I'm super excited, man. We're shooting
the
for
the Grillworks. The Grillworks grill always reminds. There's this. Do you know Mike Birbiglia, the comedian?
Mm-mm.
Doesn't matter. I'm really into I'm big in comedy as well, other than food. I like stand up and improv and all that kind of stuff. And Mike Birbiglia, he used to have this joke where he's like, they have to put a camera on everything now. He's like, you go to the store and you pick up a cantaloupe and it's like, now with a camera. And like Grillworks, all of his stuff makes me think of that. It's like you get a grill, you get a rotisserie, and you get a camera. Like it's just too much,
Yeah. But it does look glorious as fuck, man. It really does.
Yeah.
What else,
should
Casey?
we talk about well done meat?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Let's go for it.
Yeah. I'm pro whatever. Actually, hold on. Let me start this. So, I was just gonna say, if I know the quality of the meat, we're a plus. That's just me, right? But if it's anything otherwise, it's either mid well done. I don't even fuck with it. It's just whatever. Like I'll pay that sum, you know?
Yeah, go ahead. I'd like to hear your true perspective, chef perspective.
Well, I listened to our two videos, and I think in my opinion, I realized we're kind of like we have two fundamentally different takes. I actually think we're coming at it from very different points. I think for me, it's literally about the meat and kind of like the ethics of cooking something well done. And for you, I think it's a lot more like the customer is right philosophy. And I kind of live my life off the theory that the customer is almost always wrong. And I know that that's like a bad take nowadays, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would say the customer is always right, because I will argue that I've cooked for a lot of people and I don't think technically they are right all the time. I do, however, think that early in my career, I had that same mentality, right? Like if you're not eating it mid rare or rare, like I literally worked for 2 steakhouses, and I had this mentality. And when I was a young like cook and I was disgruntled, and like I was like, no, it needs to be mid rare. And I remember my first vision of somebody ordering a well done like Wagyu steak when Wagyu was popular back in the day. And the chef was like, no, we cook this mid rare here. Like he like hand on the counter. And then it's funny because I really didn't take into consideration other people's requests until I became farther along in leadership. And now when I say that, I mean like chef de cuisine level. And the reason is because, especially working at like a hotel, or a good example is like Alinea, for example, like there was people that ordered their lamb, remember the lamb 86 dish, the dish that had 86 fucking components on it. I've seen, like, I was there when shit was going down. It's funny. I saw like 4 cooks walk out. Like it was crazy, like within the span of 2 weeks. But anyway, needless to say, a lot of people want their lamb cooked up. That's what we would call it. They wouldn't say medium or mid-well, they'd say cooked up. And it's funny because it changed my perspective working actually at Alinea. Like, okay, so, this is how they're requesting the meat. This is how we're going to cook it. So the idea was behind that is like to make it as good as possible. But the reason why I think that it's difficult to kind of represent all chefs on that is because, in all honesty, I changed my perspective when I became a chef of a restaurant, right? Like when I'm cooking for other guests. And here's the thing. In LA, there's this group of Saudi Arabia princes that come from like your highnesses, right? Like it's crazy. I was told to call him your highness. I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. That's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, I stand at the front of his door with a fucking package of dates, and I'm like, good morning, your highness. Like it was crazy. Anyway, he's like, so basically they wanted a chef, right, to cook for them in the presidential suite. This is at Hotel Bel Air. And he's like, I want the best meat you can get. And I'm like, great. I order a strip loin of A5 Wagyu. And it's funny because like, I was like, how do you want me to cook this? How do you want to cook? And he's like, no pink, no blood. We want it well done meat. And I'm thinking in my head like, fuck. So what I did, to make a long story short, I roasted this whole thing all the way through, like pulled it out like 155, but slow roasted. And then it's funny because I'm going to the room like, this is destroyed. They're going to fucking hate it. Like there's no, like, it's not juicy at all. Thankfully, Wagyu is fatty enough that, it wasn't horrible, but it's not something I would enjoy. Dude, I swear to God, I'm slicing it thin. I'm serving it like over potatoes. I'm giving them rice, and like they fucking loved it. And this was the first time in my career that I realized, like, you don't have a say in how other people prefer their meat, whether it's religion or like if they're, a good example.
Well,
is like
that's
pregnant.
something a lot of people commented in the thing. They were like, well, first of all, when I said like we as chefs, I thought that was obviously a joke. Like obviously I don't speak for every chef,
Yeah.
But like, and it's amazing how many people did not take that as a joke. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like if somebody's pregnant, like we're gonna cook it through if that's how they want it. If it's a religious thing, if it's like a health requirement. And I'm talking about, I even say in the video that I posted originally, like if you go to a burger joint, I don't care. But if you're going somewhere that is the top 1% of the top 1%, like I just got back from a trip to Wisconsin yesterday where I was up visiting farmers, and I'm meeting these farmers who have these like 3 cows, and they spend their entire lives raising these cows to like 12 years old, which nobody does, right? Just so that you get the most amazing fat marbling on like a local breed. I mean, kind of like trying to do something like Wagyu here, but without those genetics. And
Was it a dairy cow?
this person is not doing a dairy cow. I've had a hard time
Yeah.
tracking somebody down doing an old dairy. In Europe, that's a lot more common to find an old
Yeah,
dairy
I was
cow.
going to say dairy cow has the best. It really is a good flavor. So there's one farmer up here that does dairy cow, but I don't know. It's kind of expensive because it's just expensive. It's crazy.
Yeah. But it's like when you're dealing with those obsessives who spend, it's like, I'm going to serve it to you the way I think it's best. And if you don't like it, I'll grill you off an oyster mushroom, you know, or like, I'll get you fish. When I worked in Kyoto, when I interned at this restaurant called Kitchisen, it was the most nuts restaurant ever. It was a 3 Michelin star kaiseki restaurant. And the chef, depending on who was eating, he gave you a different main course. If you were an American, he gave you Wagyu. If you were a Japanese local, he gave you spring trout. I was there in the early spring. And this is really I'm going to warn you right now. This is like straight up racist. If you were Chinese, he gave you Australian beef and told you it was Wagyu because he was like, they can't tell the difference. I mean, this was like straight up Japanese racism. But the point I'm more making is like the American versus Japanese, right? It's like, you give people different products based off their preference. And I don't know, I do just feel it's disrespecting the animal. And again, not for factory farming. That's I probably would eat more of there.
Yeah. So here's another devil's avocado. So when you're running a kitchen, you have it. So you know what, it kind of makes sense because there's two ends of the spectrum. And you know what, it's funny because just as much people that were telling me that I was right, there was just as much people telling me that I was wrong. Right. And so what's funny, because what I try to drive home is what do we tell the younger chef? What do we tell that up and coming chef that is coming up, right? Where here's a good example. You know, if you're working in, like, let's say you're doing a party of 30, right? And you have, let's say you have like 30 orders. You know, just as well as I know, they're not all going to be mid-rare. There's no chance, right? There's no chance of them being mid-rare. But now, do we be negative about the mid-wells and the well-dones? I try to train, like, listen, every guest deserves the same experience. But here's the thing. If a young cook and a young chef is coming up and they're working the grill station and they have, you know, multiple steaks and they have that same attitude about the mid-well to well-done steak, because that's not their preference. What's the right way to go about that situation, right? What do you think?
You know, if it's like a party or something, again, I think the environment plays a huge role in it. Like, if you're catering, like if I have a really,
and you know what, and let's keep it real. When you think about the totality of a cow, we're talking about the primal cuts that you serve mid-rare, right? Like so like if you think about it, like it's kind of like, but go ahead. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, no, it's like like for instance, at the restaurant I want to open, I really don't want to take certain dietary restrictions. Like we're not going to take vegan. We're probably not going to take lactose free, and we might not take people who don't eat seafood because I'm probably going to use a good amount of katsuobushi. Like I'm going to do a lot of dashi, and it's not because I don't like those people. It's not because I don't respect their taste. It's because I'm doing such a niche experience here. And I want you to have the same experience as everybody else. And I can't give you that if you are unable to eat certain things. Now, that being said, if you hire my restaurant for if you buy us out, or you take us, like one time I did a catering event here in Chicago at the top floor, like a Michigan Avenue building, and it was like this gorgeous apartment filled with Chihuly glass, right? It's like, if you're that person, you're paying us a ton of money. Of course, we're going to work around your taste.
Yeah.
But if you say you want well-done beef, I'm probably going to try and discourage you from us doing beef. Maybe we'll do like a really delicious braise, right? Like there's so many ways to do well-done meat that is not a steak.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we, so I guess that's more my approach. It's more, can we push it to like, how can we find this middle ground of, I have this great product. Well, great. Let's do braised short ribs. That's fucking awesome. Right. Everybody loves that. In a crowd, that's a hit. So I guess that's my position.
Yeah. So it's a gray area. It is. And so so basically I think you're 100% right. So I'll give you a good example. When Dave Barron opened his restaurant in Los Angeles, no dietary restrictions. He said, unfortunately, we're not accommodating any dietary restrictions. And I'm not gonna lie, he took it in the chin because in Los Angeles, San Francisco, bro, it's like it's tough. And I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm like, chef, listen, man, I love you, man, but like, dude, you're gonna have a tough time. You're gonna have a tough time. And it's funny, he's like, I know, we just can't do it. We don't have the staff. We don't have the staff. And I'm like, okay, all right, bro. But like, it's funny because he went for as long as possible. Dialogue, that's the restaurant.
Yeah.
Great restaurant, by the way, but it just reminded me so much of Next. Like, like it was just really, it just, and I know because we did a dinner together, people got me and him confused, and the dinner was really funny. But he had that same perception. So Dialogue, 12 seats, a couple tables, but no dietary restrictions, and it's funny because like it, he did a great job, but ultimately that restaurant he had to close it down, and that was really unfortunate, man, because I really liked it. But what was the other thing I wanted to say? So what are you doing for work right now? Do you just
I just moved back 5 weeks ago, so like I left my job in Berlin. I had some money saved up, and because I knew I was doing the 6-week road trip in the middle of summer, so like I that was always planned. So once I get back, essentially I'm going to see how long it's taking to get things done for this restaurant, and I might not, like, if it's soon enough, then I can not work, and if it's taking a while, then I might get like a prep job somewhere, so I have the mornings busy and I have like afternoons free to do all the stuff for the restaurant.
Yeah, that'd be dope, man. Dude, there's one more question I want to ask. There's one more thing, but I think you.
I have one question for you guys also at the end.
Yeah,
but we'll come back
of course.
Yeah.
All right, Jules Cooking. I saw the video. I saw the video, but it's funny because I think I know exactly what you're saying, and I respect your point of view. But I will have to argue that I think Jules Cooking, because I've seen his progression from the bottom, I will argue that Jules Cooking is probably one of my favorite chef influencers on the not on TikTok, but on TikTok's nothing. I think on Instagram and YouTube, I would definitely watch some of his videos. But I totally understand what you're saying with the molds. I totally get it.
Again, well, this is the thing. It's like, I have nothing against him as a person. Nothing. He is probably a very lovely guy. I don't consider him a chef in the same way you don't consider Joshua Weissman a chef, right? Like, I don't know. I have no idea Jules's history. I have no idea if he's worked behind the line places or if his whole thing is content creation. He strikes me as just content creation, kind of like there's another guy on TikTok who pops up a lot, Ligier, L-I-G-I-R, like that guy.
Ligier, the young kid.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, Liger or whatever.
Same idea. Like, these guys are not chefs; they're content creators, but I don't know. There's something about the Jules Cooking food that there's so many restaurants in Europe, like in Berlin. Tim Rao is the one I always give as an example because he was in the city I was in. It's like, and I call it fetishized Asian. And it's this idea of like, I use a lot of yuzu concentrate, a lot of dashi powder. I use these certain flavors and techniques, but but to me, it's done very unelegantly. It's done as a means to an end, and like a dashi beurre blanc poached oyster, as opposed to, I just want, give me an interest, like just give me the oyster. I don't know. I don't need, there's something about molding everything in microgreens. I don't like that style of cooking. And I always find it to be, that's the stuff that we're talking about, like influencing younger chefs. That's the stuff that worries me about influencing our chefs. That's the stuff I think young cooks see and they go, I want to do that. Let me do that, when they're not learning to
the
roast
basic
a chicken.
fundamentals.
Yeah.
So you know what? That's a great point. That's a great point. But he also does have on his YouTube channel, he has basic techniques. Okay. But here's the thing about Liger. Liger is not. I don't know. I call him Liger. I don't know. His name is. I think his name's Michael. But he lives here in Cupertino. He lives right next to me. But he's not a chef. He's a tech bro that just loves fine dining, and he loves and he'll say it. Like, he's reached out and asked me questions, and it's funny because I'm like, yo, when are we gonna collab? But he fucking skyrocketed out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. But like, I gotta admit, like, I know that some of the spheres and some of the shit that he makes is not. I know it doesn't taste good. He's just doing it for the camera. But like, yeah, it's kind of played out. But
I
will
like
say that I think
too. FYI, just saying, I'm against molds.
No, you don't mold your ramen. You don't.
No, I totally understand. I totally understand that perspective. But I think all chefs have different personality, different styles. And if that's his style, like, you can look at it, like if you watch one of his YouTube videos and you and plus he has a good resume. His resume is legit. I don't know if he was the head chef, but for sure it's sous chef. But he like, if you look at some of his recipes, especially on YouTube, I wouldn't really go for the TikTok because he just repurposes his reels. But his YouTube channel is fucking fire, and some of the shit he makes is beautiful. And I would go back to his old videos because here's the thing about content creation. Yeah, I totally get it, man. Like, and it sucks because I'm forced to like do some bullshit videos. Here's a good example. I made a beautiful carrot dish a couple weeks ago, 10K views. I did it for a tasting menu. It was really good, right? I got these carrots from a local farmer that literally just harvested them less than 24 hours out of the fucking ground, and 10,000 views. Nobody's interested. I post a peanut butter and jelly on white bread. Okay, 600,000 views. Engagement is absolutely crazy. I got Welch's reaching out to do a sponsorship deal, and I'm like, nah, fuck.
Look, when I did the original well done meat video, when I did my first well done video, I did it because I had done another meat video that got like 600K views, and people engage with that stuff.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Like there's certain videos I just do for me, and then there's videos where it's like I know this is getting like I'm on the creator fund now, and I'm not getting a lot of money, but I'm getting something,
Yeah.
And so
The creator fund won't get you too much money, but the brand deals will. The brand deals, I highly recommend doing brand deals because
nobody's reached out about that yet, and I don't have the kind of like attention to this. Again, I've got 15,000 followers. Like this is not a big.
Yeah,
I'm not huge. But all right, here's my question. It actually bleeds into what we were talking about, and I love asking chefs this in general. How do you guys? And this is for both of you. How do you roast a chicken? Like, what's your technique for roasting a chicken?
Okay.
You want me to go first?
Or do you want me to go first?
Yeah. I spatchcock the fuck out of it. 35 minutes in the oven, 375, and then let it rest at 145. I pull it out at 145, and then let it room come up to 150, and then I eat the fuck out of it.
Are you doing any fat on or under the skin, or just straight up?
Nothing. Just straight. Nothing. Salt, pepper. Very minimal, I should say, but it depends on the quality of the chicken. Again, I don't know if you noticed, like so I do a ramen thing, right? I focus more on the quality of the fat every time I get it. Like I make it to my purveyors. I'm like, I want Berkshire every time. I want to see it. And then when I do get the product, I open it and I touch the fucking fat. And then obviously that gauges how much I need to adjust the tare for the ramen, and it's all based on fat. Literally, this is my bread and butter is this fucking broth. Every time I make it, every week. If that's not how I want it, then it's kind of a failed purpose. So the same exact thing for any of my cooking. Quality first over everything. If the chicken comes out like primo, you can see that fucking yellow thing underneath. Oh my god, I'm excited. Salt and pepper, spatchcock, 145. Again, let it rest to 155, and then I eat it. But if it's like kind of crappy, I will cook it all the way to like 160, 165, and then just lather it with like butter or some shit just to make it taste good.
Yeah. So my favorite way to roast a chicken is definitely Peking style. So for sure, 100%. I went down the rabbit hole. So if you go to Angler San Francisco or Angler Los Angeles, if you go to their Instagram and you see that chicken dish, that's my chicken dish. That is the one I created for Chef Skeens. And I like to use the heritage bird from D'Artagnan as my favorite, but there's a couple local purveyors here. I like to get head on, feet on to be able to dip it, right? In the dip is maltose and, Szechuan spices. And it's my absolute fucking favorite way to have chicken. I like to use the wood oven, but I will argue that the combi oven just gives you a better product. Okay. So the rationale, like if you cook the bird 75% with 60% humidity and then finish it at a hard roast. And I like to, cook it pretty much to like 135. Then what I do is I take off the breasts and then I finish the legs. But, if I was in an operation, then I'd probably do the spatchcock, or I would butcher it in a way that everything can cook together. But here's the thing. I fucking hate chicken breast. Like, I only like chicken breast if it's fucking juicy, bro. And it's funny you say this because, dude, I will eat chicken fucking pink, especially if I cook it myself. Like rosé. Mm-hmm. That's what I call it. Mm-hmm. And my wife is the opposite end of the spectrum, bro. She like fucking dry chicken team. She's team dry chicken. But as far as roast, I have a mother Peking dip. And, I use this all the time. In Chinese, they call it barbecue chicken. They don't call it like Peking style. Like Yeah, they call it barbecue. And, you know, here in America, I can't call it barbecue. I just can't. Barbecue is something way different for me. But I've also had experience cooking it in the wood oven is one of my favorite things. You know, definitely if you go down Chef Mike Bagel's page, he has a roasted goose on his page. And he sent me the recipe. And I transferred this to pretty much chicken. And then I kind of made it my own. But Peking style chicken roasted in the wood oven, or arguably the combi, is probably my favorite. That's the way I would do it. Now, would I teach that? No, I would probably teach like a roasted chicken that has a simple brine. I'm a big fan of the dry brine.
Yeah.
I like to keep the skin. So like when I train cooking a chicken, one, I like to get air chilled. Fuck that watered down bullshit. I like to get air chilled. And what I like to do is I like to dry out the chicken for at least 1 or 2 days, clean out the cavity really good, salt it, and then get all the moisture off the skin, because that is going to be the absolute success to roasting a proper chicken, right? I don't fill the cavity at all. I think that's stupid. Unless it's like herbs or citrus, that's about it. Other than that, I don't tie it either. It depends on what size the bird is. Like if it's the 3 to 4 pound bird, you know, it depends. If it has skinny legs, but a fat chest, then, you know, I'm probably not going to tie it. It really depends. If it's a tiny bird, but like, you know, if it doesn't have that much meat, then I'm going to tie it up. It just really depends. But I think as far as that, like if I'm going to brine it, like if I'm going to teach brining it, then I would use a needle. I wouldn't dip the whole bird in the brine. You know, so like, it depends. It like really depends on what the finished product is. But how about you?
Well, I think it's really funny because every chef approaches roasting a chicken different. And like you read cookbooks, it's, I don't know. I'm pretty classic. Like I enjoy the peeking aspect of, I always get my hand under there and I try to get the skin as like off the meat as much as possible. Yeah. And then I do like a really simple olive oil, salt, pepper. Well, no, sorry. First I dry brine for a day in the fridge. So I salt the whole thing, air dry it. And then the next day I'll do another layer of olive oil all over, salt, pepper. And then I let it go like probably 450 for 15 minutes, and then I bring it down to like 325 until I get a temperature I like and juice flow. But for me, the most important part is actually not the chicken, but what's below it. And it's like, I want onion browns, I want lemon, I want it sitting on a bed of stuff that's going to roast beneath it and flavor the juices that are coming out. And also just be like, to me, the best part of roast chicken is caramelized onion from beneath the roast chicken.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So if you go to the Ferry Building in San Francisco, there's a place. It's actually a corporate food truck, but it's called Roti Roti. They have one of the best roasted chickens I've ever had. But have you ever heard of like roasting the chicken on its breast side to get the back skin like nice and crackly?
Okay. Like the whole time, or do you flip it back and forth?
So basically, you start it on its back, and then it sits up on its. Then you sit it up, and then it roasts around, so it doesn't get that blonde spot on the bottom. But yeah, that was another cool way that I learned. But it's really difficult to, like, if you're in a restaurant operation, to do that for like 10 chickens. Anything over 5 is like, you got to pick and choose your battles. Anyway, I know we got to wrap it up, man. I really enjoyed this podcast, man. It was pretty dope. It was really nice.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad we got to actually chat.
Yeah.
I think it's
again, not an asshole.
No, it's not that.
I don't
it's
think
all
so
about
at all.
It's all about perspective. That's all it is, right? If we can get a back and forth, that's like the most important part of it. Because like I knew that you were kind of doing satire, but I wanted to confirm, right? But I didn't know personally. So obviously now we got to talking. We know, right? But for everybody aware, I mean, they would probably just kind of knock you down. You're like, bro, I was just joking. You know, like I get it. My content's like 90% satire too, but I flavor it kind of corporate style, so it's not so not too intense on the wording, I should say. But I'm a petty motherfucker all day, like
yeah. Casey, don't let him lie. Casey is the king of petty, man. He will reply to every negative comment
petty
and fucking
shit.
Bury it. Yeah,
petty as shit, yo. All right. For everything else, Jake, I'll tag your stuff underneath, that way people can find you and stuff like that. Cool. And then any
it's
kind
all
of
the
news,
same at Not Yet a Chef. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
Any kind of news?
If you need any help,
upcoming?
If you need any help in California, just shoot me a message. I got you, man. I'll set you up. I can even just point you in the different directions of different farmers. You know what I mean?
Thank you, and good luck with Montana.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great.
We'll look forward to seeing it open.
We all
definitely. I'm gonna post here on social media in the next couple of days. So we'll see.
Okay, cool.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you.
All right, peoples. Thank you so much, and that's all we got.